the stones, everybody so stone, come in, come out. ET's is the bond and we rebuild. Oh, and how I wish it were.
What's up, Jive Turkeys, and welcome to the Story Time with Boots podcast. We got a fantastic show for you today. We got two of East Stroudsburg's finest, the beefiest beefcakes. They are twins, the Delario brothers, and they are here to talk about anxiety. When they first came to me and wanted to talk about anxiety, I thought they were fucking nuts. Quite frankly, these are two of the most outgoing guys that I know, but secretly behind the scenes, we're dealing with anxiety. And you would never know this and I'm sure you guys probably won't realize it just by hearing them talk, but they're going to give us our story today. So, gentlemen, welcome to the show.
What's up, Boot? I'm Nick Delario.
And Doug Delario.
Yep. Try to decipher that when you see the pictures on social media. You're not going to be able to.
Well, especially when it sounds like the same voice.
Take us back when you guys, because like I just said, when we were in college, you guys were always the ones that knew everybody, knew every frat, whatever, all the parties. When did you realize that you had anxiety? When did that first come about?
So, anxiety for me, so obviously it's in our chemical makeup. Me and my brother pretty much had it our whole life. Runs in our family. But
both sides? Mom and dad? Or
both sides.
Wow.
And it's a little more spoken about on my mom's side. Not so much on my dad's side until we got older. But again, just having a twin brother and then also with sports, it kind of subsided it. I was able to deal with it, and I didn't really even know what anxiety was, probably till almost end of high school, beginning of college.
Now, was there a particular moment? So you mentioned sports, and I got to think for a lot of kids, especially nowadays because everybody has a camera, and I'm sure parents want to post all their kids' videos on social media and then playing sports. So there's probably even more pressure for kids now to try to do well and perform. So when you say sports, did it start there? Did you feel more anxiety when you started playing sports, or was it more like socially going to school or something like that? When did you think that this might just be a little more than nerves?
So for me, as far as anxiety, as far as life goes, I never felt it. You know, going to school.
You just thought you were nervous? Or
no, I never felt
okay.
it. I mean, obviously test time, because I never studied, but that's another topic. Really, it was more sports, but as far as sports go, not to sound cocky, but I was always pretty good growing up. You know, always all-star, always top, always played short, always pitched. And I never really felt it until high school. So high school, I suited varsity my freshman year. And then sophomore year, I was actually backing up second, which still, I mean, I like to talk about when I'm at shortstop or when I'm at second. They call them rituals.
Right.
And this is where, I mean, this could even started at grade school. So before every ground ball, I could pat my glove, touch my pants, pick up dirt, you know, and that's things like if I don't do that in between every pitch and the ground ball gets hit to me, I'm going to boot it. It's going to go between my legs, you know, whatever. But if I do this, the ball is going to go into my glove and I'm going to make a perfect throw. And this is the stuff that goes to your head.
So it's a mental
anxiety.
thing.
It's all a mental thing. But you don't know. That's just something that I did. So junior year, I started shortstop. I'm pretty sure it was before the season started. We're playing Council Rock. First ground ball gets hit to me, and literally I pick up the ball, and I couldn't feel my arm. And when I threw it, it bounced halfway and went to first. Now, people that know me, I throw hard. You know, even as a pitcher, I threw hard growing up. I was, you know, always number one pitcher. Shortstop, I always had a cannon. So for me, I was like, what is going on? And right from then, I couldn't stop obsessing about it. Again, next couple ground balls, I booted. I went to my coach, and the first thing that came to my head was, my arm hurts. Like, you know, I don't know how else to explain it.
Now, did your arm really hurt, or were you just like so nervous you're like, get me out of this situation?
It was a cop-out. It was basically saying, in my head, I'm like, I can't throw the ball, and I'm not going to, and I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
So I told my coach my arm hurt. Now, this went on pretty much my whole half of junior year, because I'll tell you, I wound up getting hurt. But so the season started. You know, I wouldn't make a play or two, but it was this feeling I had where my arm would get numb, and it would really only happen on the time I had to throw the ball. You know, long story short, during half of the season, I mean, I kept telling my arm hurt. My coach was calling my dad. I mean, I'm the starting shortstop, and got a big season. We had a lot of young guys, so you really count on me. When I talked to my dad, I could tell him, you know, my arm's hurt. He's like, I know there's something else. I know there's a deeper thing behind it.
Now did he go, it's in your head, kid?
Yeah, well, that's another thing. And, like, you know, for people like my dad or my coach, like, they couldn't understand anyway. Even if I
Old
went
school.
that route, yeah, they're old school. It's like, yo, just get through it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I wound up getting hurt that year. I wound up fracturing my thumb, and during that period, I feel like it kind of subsided. And then when I went back senior year, I started at second, and then I transitioned to short, and I was fine. I went my senior year. I did good, all Catholic in all city.
So wait, now, was there anything in that time, you said you went to short and you were fine. Was there anything in that, what I guess eased your mind? What was...
So the thing with anxiety and panic, it's also OCD. So what it is some people have anxiety and panic. You can have an anxiety episode. And for people who don't know what it is, it could last 5 minutes because you're not obsessing about it. So once the feeling's over, you go on with your life.
You move on.
Yeah, if you obsess about that feeling, it's almost like Groundhog's Day. Like, you never forget it, and it just keeps replaying and replaying. It's all you think about it. So it's like you almost put a meaning to it. So it's like I was so concentrated on throwing that I actually felt my arm numb to the point where it's like my head was in my arm. It's weird to say that because it's like unrealistic, but that's what anxiety is. So it's like I solely concentrated on my arm and throwing to the point where it was numb. And then I guess so after my junior year, because again, I still didn't even know it was anxiety. I just knew I couldn't throw. You know, senior year, I guess I calmed down. I kind of forgot about it. And then my confidence level of that following year, and then once I started throwing and making plays, I felt like it wasn't there anymore. It is very interesting. Again, and I also want to bring up ways of coping with it because I know sports anxiety is out there.
Wait, one second. I wanted to just get into too, Doug. So from when did you come to the realization? Because I don't know if you guys like talk to each other, Nick, after you realized that you had anxiety and you're like, do you feel this way? When did you realize that, you had anxiety issues?
Well, the good thing is I never threw that hard, so I didn't really have any problems throwing. But mine was, so it's weird. So I had it in baseball because I never really had confidence, or I didn't really know what confidence was. Now I feel like I have more confidence playing, but back then I didn't. So I always let the situation get the best of me. It was crazy. So in grade school, I had 3 things that needed to be okay in order for me to feel like I was happy and have a good life. I had to get good grades. I had to make sure I always had in grade school you don't have girlfriends, but, a girl that you're like talking to, and sports.
So you always needed a woman.
All 3. I
That's
needed
interesting.
3 of them. Well, yeah, just like knowing that, you might have somebody in them 3 areas. So like,
and how old were you? Like 17?
Are we talking about relationships? No, I was in the grade school, so it was probably like 6th and 7th grade.
You needed
maybe
your,
8th.
You neted your little
Well, I'm
girlfriend.
saying, right. It was like 3 different. I just needed to know like I had that in order.
You had
I
support.
Had sports. I had support.
You're
that
a little
my
old
sports
man.
was always top notch.
I needed to have
and I
my
had good
finances
grades.
in order, and
that was it.
make sure I was upselling on my bubble gum to
He was
the
an
local
old soul
kids.
back then.
I was an old soul. Right, exactly. So
Jive turkey.
So but it was funny because that was the situation. So if them 3 areas weren't good, so if I wasn't doing good in school, or if I broke up, or maybe you don't really have girlfriends, but whatever.
If you broke up with your 6th grade girlfriend,
Right, exactly.
all
It's horrible.
hell broke loose for you.
Literally.
You were
Literally.
nervous as shit.
Exactly, and it would affect me. And if I didn't have a good game, I wasn't happy. So my point is, in my mind, the situations were controlling my life. So it was a lot of things that sometimes I couldn't control.
So that's the
but I
root of
needed
it. So it's your situations, these preconceived situations that you built in your head, that how you want things to be organized in your life. If that wasn't organized,
anxiety.
okay, so that's like a touch of OCD
because like what my brother was saying, because I didn't know that my focus, I didn't understand that with my focus I can deal with that. So any type of adversity in them 3 areas. So say if I wasn't doing that well, if I focused on it and made myself better, then it wouldn't matter what I was doing at that point, or if I did bad on a test, or if I didn't have a good game, or if Susie didn't talk to me that day. I didn't really. It wouldn't have mattered. You understand? So basically, for me, it was just all of that, and then it filtered into baseball. So, like my brother said, with the glove and the hat, it's always outside. So it's like I need that to happen in order for me to do well, instead of my focus being on, I'm going to focus on myself catching the ball. I'm going to picture myself getting this hit, and I'm going to get through this myself. I didn't know that it was me the whole time.
Interesting. How do you think you would have been now? Like if your dad, for instance, was if you knew he was in the stands videoing and he would have like posted your game on Facebook. If you could think back to that time, how do you think you would have handled that? Would you think that would have been worse for you, or? giving you more anxiety at that time?
I think it would have been 1,000 times worse.
Yeah.
1,000 times worse.
Because I'm just trying to think like what we just said a second ago about like even kids today, and stress they might have on them with that type of thing.
Yeah, and I 100% agree. And even I was actually reading up on coaching styles, and I feel like a lot of old school back then is changing because I feel like especially everything is videoed now and more scrutinized on a combination of a coach telling you suck. Right. Why can't you throw the ball? Why can't you hit? Like, people don't realize when kids go home, they're inside their own head. And that's what it is. Anxiety and panic is inside your own head. And that's why you really want to talk about it. And for a kid who's already kind of to himself because he's still learning to grow, shouldn't have to go through that. And you're really taking the fun out of sports.
Here's the hard part, I guess. How do you decipher what is just typical nerves, like everybody gets nervous, that's normal, and what is anxiety?
The difference is, and I kind of touched on this before, is the OCD factor. So the obsession. So
okay,
for
makes
instance,
sense.
you never really know what it was. You might have had nervous situations that could have lasted 4 minutes. But someone for like me and my brother would last longer. We obsess over them thoughts. So it's like, we can't get over it, and that's why we would make these outside factors. We would believe in them so much to try to help us control our anxiety until we got older to realize that we can control that by ways of just coping with it or just kind of hitting it head on, especially in uncomfortable situations, and not kind of running away from them.
Yeah. Well, I think that's interesting because you said the OCD, so it almost seems like the rituals as opposed to just being nervousness is what kind of separates just being nervous and, actually having anxiety. Does that sound right? Or
yeah, right. So I think it's giving power and giving meaning to outside factors instead of me having the power. So I feel like being nervous is I'm a little uneasy, but then it rolls into anxiety, feeling like you gave that situation power over you. It could be a terrorism. I mean, terrorism in the world makes you have anxiety. Unless you can feel like, I can't control that, but I can do this, and this to refocus my energy to get myself through the day instead of saying, oh my God, I hope this doesn't happen.
Okay.
So if you can actually control your focus, which I know we're going to talk about this, later on too, then there's nothing to worry about.
Gotcha.
If you feel like you have no control and you feel like that you can't get through stuff, then you will let outside factors control your life.
Does that involve a ritual? Because you mentioned the baseball thing and that you had a little ritual you did.
Oh, yeah.
So if someone's just nervous, for example, like you said, a mass shooting, it's just giving them terrible anxiety. Is there a ritual that they would do that might help with that? Or is it just more trying to focus your thoughts on that you can't control that and just here's what you can control, or maybe doing other positive things in your life and, being productive at work or raising the kids, whatever it is?
Right. So you can control. Well, it's funny. In training day, they said smiles and cries. You remember that when he said that? I had no idea what he was talking about. Did you watch Training Day?
Oh, I love Training Day.
The
movie,
funny.
Right?
My brother actually brought it up to me. He's like, "Did you hear what he just said? He said smiles and cries." I'm like, "I have no idea what he's talking about." He was all excited. But he said, "Doug, that's the only things you can control his life, right? Is smiles and cries." So at the end of the day, you can't control terrorism, but I can control what I think and how I react.
Right.
So I could still smile. I mean, you picture the worst things in life, someone in your family being sick or something really bad happening, and you could still kind of smile the fact of getting through it and helping that person. Like, I really felt like I couldn't even do that. Like, picture someone being hurt in your family and going to the hospital and visiting them. You feel like you're going to go there and almost make it worse because you're like, I can't deal with this. I don't even want to go in the room.
Yeah.
But what if you force yourself to get through it and actually smiled and made them feel better?
Because we have the definition of anxiety up, and so here it is. It's a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. So basically exactly, like what you guys have been saying. Treating it is the key. And you've given a little kind of highlights in that, but how would you recommend or how did you overcome that both as a youngster and then to now adults?
So as far as anxiety, especially when I was younger, again, it's, having my twin there and then also playing sports in general helped me cope with the anxiety, I guess life anxiety.
Now, did you guys talk about that at all? Now, even if you didn't call it anxiety at the time, did you say, like, holy shit, man, my arm just felt like dead, like I couldn't even throw it? Did you talk to each other about that and not really, or just kind of leave it like surface level? chalk it up to nerves type of thing?
My brother was the only one I actually told because, again, I didn't know how to explain it. But it wasn't like, hey, Doug, I'm feeling really nervous, anxiety. I can't throw the ball. I did kind of tell my brother, I said, listen, I can't throw the ball. I feel like it's not, I feel like it's numb when I throw. I know it's some form of nervousness that I never felt before. Again, because all growing up, I was always that top player. It's also confidence.
Modest anxiety.
Yeah, that's what it is. I always knew that I was going to be a professional athlete. It scared the shit out of me. But, that's what I say. It's like, but it's one of them things where, especially at a young age, you can't explain it. So, I talked to my brother, said what he could at the point, but it's really just kind of getting through it yourself and then learning from experience. Now, you talk about adulthood. That's a little different. And what I was going to talk about it before, about this video that I saw from a meeting last year. And it's actually about sports anxiety. And this guy was a tennis instructor. And the guy he was working with,
Do you remember his name?
I think Harry.
Harry. Harry Henderson.
No, I'm kidding.
I didn't know if it was like a professional thing or something.
Yeah, sorry. I don't make light of that. I think that was a serious question. I'm kidding. I apologize on his behalf. But anyway, no, but he is famous. I can't remember his name. But that's what he does work with that. He works with, positive thinking, redirecting thought. And that's what his videos are based on. So he has this guy, and he's like I said, his backhand, he's having trouble. He's hitting it over the fence, or he's hitting it away. He just can't control it.
Wailing that thing.
Wailing it. He approaches the guy and he said, listen, out of 10 times, he's like, after we go through this exercise, how many do you want or think that you can hit on the other side of the box? And he said, realistically, if I can hit 3 or 4, legitimately, he's like, I'll be happy. He's like, oh, listen, okay. So before we go, he's like, I'm going to hit the ball. We're just going to do some warm-up exercises. Like, so the first thing I want to do when I hit the ball, I want you to tell me the way the seams are going, okay? And then after that, I want you to tell me the speed of the ball. Then after that, I want you to tell me the direction, whether it's going straight or if it's going left to right. And he's like, we're going to do that several times, and then we're going to see how the outcome is. He said, okay. So he hits him like 20 balls. So he's like, all right, tell me the way the seams are going. So he hits a couple. He's like, the seams are going forward, the seams are going backward. He's like, all right, tell me the speed. This one's faster, this one's slower. And then he goes, all right, so now I want you to tell me the direction. This ball is going more towards the left. This ball is going to the right. Now, meanwhile, so this video is playing where I'm at a meeting, and this guy's just killing it. I mean, he's just hitting in the box, dropping them in.
Yeah.
So after 20, he goes, okay, so let me ask you a question. How many did you hit over there? He's like, dude, it must have been like 14, 15. And he goes, you know why? And he goes, why? He's like, because I redirected your thought and your concentration. You weren't thinking about your backhand. You were thinking about the rotation of the ball. You're thinking about the speed of the ball. Now, really think about that meaning. Now, in life, or me playing shortstop. So imagine if I'm playing short and the guy hits the ball, and instead of being like, oh my God, I can't feel my arm. Oh my God, I make a perfect throw. Oh my God, my dad's going to kill me. I'm not going to eat dinner for a week. My dad's going to lock me in the doghouse. Yeah. But you know what I mean? But it's like, I concentrate on the ball, so it's like the ball's hit, I concentrate on the rotation. You know what I mean? And then maybe I'm concentrating on the first baseman's glove. Now I'm making throws because I'm not concentrating on my arm. So if you really think of the meaning behind it, it's awesome. Like I said, it's just real redirecting it, and that's something that people who have, sports anxiety now or, are still playing, maybe that's what they can utilize. Just redirecting your thought. And whatever it is, it doesn't have to be that. It could be anything. Just concentrating on something else because ultimately you're out there to have fun. And when you're having fun is when you're better.
Well, and people have the tools, and it's just something in their head, this anxiety, you know what I mean? It's not like they don't have the capability of dropping in that box. It's because he's thinking about it, and he's in his own head. And that's one of the reasons sports psychology is big business now, too. It's got its own little category and taken off. Because when you play at that high level, and all the world is watching, and now there's social media, and there's millions of dollars to be made, and then millions from endorsements. Just imagine that amount of pressure for an adult athlete or a young adult athlete, like we were talking about Markelle Fultz for the Sixers, number 1 draft pick 2 years ago that was just having struggles with his shot, and he's only, what was he, an 18, 19-year-old kid when he first came out?
I think he's about 19, yeah.
Is he 20 yet? I don't even know if he's 20.
I think he's 19.
Yeah. 1 year, I think.
And then he was number 1 draft pick.
Yeah. What about you, though? What about you as an adult now? What do you do, Doug, or I guess what kind of anxiety do you get now? Because you're not playing sports or, what gets you nervous?
Well, I still do play baseball, but.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Still do play. Thank you for undermining me.
You're in the men's league. I forgot.
Yeah, I say 4 sandwiches? No, but see, I never.
That's a typical breakfast, right?
That's true. It was an appetizer.
I've got anxiety. Give me these sandwiches.
Stress eater.
Yeah.
But I never really. So I feel like growing up, like I never really overcame it. Like I felt like I've had it this whole time up until now. Recently, just being, playing sports, I feel like over the years I became more and more and more anxiety ridden that it almost was becoming not fun. Up until last year, I really wasn't even having fun playing baseball. It just I felt like, I was being like judged. I'm getting older. I'm maybe not playing enough, and I'm afraid about striking out. I'm afraid about dropping balls coming to me, and I started reaching out like between that and then work because I'm we're getting promoted and everything like that. I feel like there's just more pressure. I started reaching out. I started looking at videos like Tony Robbins and such like that, and then so was my brother. And the first video I seen, it said, "This will change your life." 15 minutes.
Sold.
Done and done. So I'm like, perfect. But it really did, because it really talked about the 3 keys that you control. It's focus, meaning, and
Fecal
belief.
matter.
Exactly. Right. It's actually that easy.
So you don't shit yourself.
Right. Monkeys actually do it. They throw it at each other.
There you go.
Yeah. But if you can redirect your focus, right, you can control what you focus on. You focus on, the meaning that you give to each situation and the belief that you have, which me and you talked about before too. So I can control what I focus on. Me and you can go to the same party, have the same situation, have the different meaning of it, right?
Right.
And what you believe in. So if I can control them 3 key factors in my life, then I can almost kind of control the situation and make myself happy and not have anxiety. So, for instance, like playing baseball, like my brother said, instead of going, "Oh my God, I hope the ball doesn't get hit to me," because that's a situation I can't control, why don't I focus on making the play? Why don't I focus on maybe watching a video to be more prepared? Or to actually visualize myself making the play. I can control that. Sitting there like, oh my God, I don't want to go in. I mean, there's games where I'd be like, nah, I don't want to go out in the field. I'm sending a young kid out there. I'm not going out there.
I'm DHing.
Exactly. That was my favorite. Yeah, I'm DHing today. I'm DHing. Yeah. Right. And he's like, what if you're not hitting? I'm like, well, then I'm keeping the buck. What do you want me to tell you? What else do you want me to do?
Pass the sunflower seeds.
Grab me the water? I'll give you the water. The sunflower seeds, yeah. I was actually really good at that. But yeah, so that's my thing. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm actually controlling the things that I can control. And Boot, you can actually write this down. It's called mental push-ups.
Mental push-ups. All right.
So we're all in shape. Look like you're still doing pretty well yourself there, Boot.
My brain is a fat slob, though. I need to get these mental
push-ups. That's what I was saying. Look like your brain's a little out of shape right now.
Right.
So if you could do mental push-ups, picture like yourself working out physically. But if you could mentally work yourself out, how much better your life will be. I feel like you'll be truly happy. I mean, I go to parties now, and I feel like I have better conversation. I feel like I'm more alert because I'm focusing
now, wait
on
a
the
minute.
right
You
things.
always went to parties and got crazy.
That is
so
true.
what's changed there?
Well, I'm just more focused on what I'm doing now.
Oh,
yes, exactly.
So before you didn't even, what did I just say?
No,
He was on autopilot.
Yeah,
Damn, you've been cruising this whole time?
I never looked you in the eyes before, did I? We're actually locking eyes now. You're always like, stop looking down. Look at my chest.
Stop looking at these luscious breasts over
Exactly.
here.
So I finally, you actually look pretty nice, buddy. I've actually never looked at your face. Yeah.
Who knew this whole time, right?
Exactly. So so that's where I'm at right now, and it's helping.
Well, that's interesting because I forget what word I said, but I think how I put it was like that it's just something you overcome as opposed to it's just something you deal with and learn to control is basically what it is. And like you said, whether it's visualization or focusing on positive aspects of the outcome, I definitely can relate to that, especially when it comes to sports because a lot of times what it is the nerves get to you and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to get up there and I'm going to strike out. Or when you should be focusing on, I'm going to get up there and I'm going to hit a home run. And then just let the outcome play out itself, and a lot of times it's going to work out a lot better than you think when your nerves are not involved.
Right, and also, being in management and also my brother's in management and, you're in management as well, so I'll include you in the conversation. You're a coach and you're a leader. So especially now, when I coach and lead my associates and especially my younger associates, it's all about lessons, and especially what I learned growing up. So it's like, when you talk about uncomfortable situations, and you hear from a lot of motivational speakers and things like that, or people like that, I should say, they talk about embracing uncomfortable situations. So if I think about growing up and being at short and having that ball hit me, it was an uncomfortable situation at the time, and I was kind of running from it because taking myself out of the game or not talking to anybody. What happens if I said, you know what, I'm going to embrace it?
Yeah.
Not that I want to make an error, but who cares if I do? It's only a game, and this is easier said than done, obviously. What happens if I just continue, and after the game, what happens if I talk to my dad and explain to him and say, hey, listen, maybe 3 or 4 times a week, can you hit ground balls to me?
Yeah.
Repetition, muscle memory. Talk to my coach. What happens if all my coaches knew, so that way they can be behind me and instead of running from it? But so it's like embracing comfortable situations, public speaking. When I talk about myself, and again, not being,
Are you
cocky,
a nervous public speaker, by the way?
All right, so this is what I'm going to tell you. So,
Okay.
Not that I'm nervous. I would say out of all my strengths, which at my level now, I feel like I
It's
have
definitely
a lot of
baseball.
strengths. That's the one thing. That's the one thing.
No, go ahead.
No, but it's that, and it's more or less because me and my brother are very hyper. We're hype men, and I feel like a lot of hype men talk fast. So even right now, I'm kind of forcing myself to slow down. But it's like, so when I get up a big, in front of a group of people, especially the way I think, I'm more rapid fire, quick thinking. So it's like for me to kind of step back for 10, 15 minutes and kind of really get my point across to a lot of people that are looking at me. That's an area I would say is a weakness, and that's something I actually have. In 4 months, I actually have to give a presentation in front of a lot of people that are high up. So it's like I'm kind of doing things and talking to people and going to mock so that way I can get better.
Yeah.
And before I would probably just be a nervous wreck and be like, every day would like affect my life. But now it's like I'm excited because I'm going to embrace it. And even when I get up there, and even if I'm not 100%, but I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to do the best I can. Like, it's funny. I was telling Doug, I was like, what? I'm gonna embrace where it's like, I hope I stutter. I hope I don't talk.
I hope I throw up on stage.
I literally hope. Well, this is what I'm hoping. Hope I throw up and shit myself at
All
the same
4
time.
of those sandwiches.
And then literally for 10 minutes, I'm not gonna say anything.
Well, I mean, that's the double deuce there. You can't.
No.
It won't get any worse than that.
Well, and that's when fecal matter actually comes to play, what we talked about before. It all correlates.
It all comes back to fecal matter in the end. Yeah, pretty much. I guess when you're a kid, and one of the things I want to touch on was going back to dealing with it as a kid and playing short, and you were nervous that, the ball might get hit to you and you might make an error. Now obviously that's not a big stressor like that adults deal with, whether it's financial, whether it's family, whatever. But at the time for the kid, it is big. That's their whole world for that moment. So dealing with that at a young age, I would assume would help them as they get older to deal with the other issues that would be, more serious anxiety.
Right. So for me, it's more self-conscious. So yeah. So it's same thing as a child, but as now I'm always worried about what other people are thinking. Like right now, you're looking at me, and I'm like, oh my god, what's something on my face? What are you looking at? Is there a hair? Should I pull it? But that's what I feel like. And I feel like too when you're public speaking, everyone's like looking at you, and you're like, oh my god, this guy's an idiot, or you don't know what he's talking about, but 9 times out of 10 when you're talking, there's like someone like texting someone, there's like someone who has really could care less what you're talking about, and they're just there. So that's what you have to remember. Not that no one really cares.
We just have a very short attention span this
Exactly.
day and age.
So
knowing that can bring you comfort.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's funny, but like when I am talking, especially at work, if I'm giving a presentation, I just assume no one really listens to what I'm talking about, and everyone's like whatever, and just going through, and hopefully they'll pick up certain key points. But it's not to the point where I really have to be nervous, where someone's like judging me. So that's how I go through work, and even in sports, like even with baseball. Now I'm like, no one cares. So I'm out there, I'm in the field, I'm like, I'm going to make this play, but if I don't, it's not the end of the world, but I make the play now. Batting, remember we were talking about on the phone, I want to strike out, like Nick was telling me. I obviously don't want to poop myself during a game. You got to go through 9 innings, but I don't wish that. But without doing that, even if I strike out, that's fine. At least I can sit on the bench without sitting in that. So, but that's my point. But now I just don't let that bother me. I just know it's all about me and the power of you. So that's the power of you. So that's leading into my next point. So I have all the power, Boot.
You do have the power.
No control over me.
Do you ever play I've Got the Power before you?
I'll listen to it. Dun, 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 dun. No, you put it on the Gravitron when we were growing up. I should have known that was a hidden meeting.
So what, you were nervous getting on the Gravitron?
Oh, my God, yeah. The Fortron's down, and you're stuck with no straps by gravity. How would that scare you?
I do not go on roller coasters. I hate them.
Oh, yeah, you don't do anything.
No, I mean, I have.
Right, but that's anxiety. You have to
yeah, bubble guts. I need a lot of mental push-ups to get on that bad boy.
Well, we were at when we were living in Olney, we went to a carnival, and there's swings going on, and we were standing there, and someone puked all over my aunt. Actually, God. I'm not going to mention her name, but yeah, all over. That just reminded me of that
Old
story.
Puke aunt.
Yep, that's their name now. Yeah.
Sweet mother of mercy. All right, so I know that you wanted to do stuff to help people. Unlicensed, you're the the Philly Jesus of anxiety, just walking around and curing people. I love that. You talked about what you do in your own daily life. Anything upcoming that you want to do to try to, whether it's spread the word, help people? What do you got going on with that?
Right, yeah. So, yeah, we did talk about I actually baptized someone in puddle water on the street actually on the way over here in Norristown. But yeah, so what I do is, so it's funny, it's not like, I want to say people are coming to me, but I guess I'm just noticing it more if I'm talking to somebody and they're really not happy, or they just feel comfortable with me to say it. So the last couple of people I talked to, it's all relationship related. So I feel like it's even tough when you're in a relationship because you're feeding into a lot of times what they're saying. So if they're having a bad day or whatever, you take it to yourself. You take it personal. So it's actually changing you because, you know, when you're a kid or if you're in an apartment before you get into a relationship, you're focused on yourself, what makes you happy. Now you're commingling with someone else. You're taking their values on. They might see things a little bit differently, but then you're losing yourself in the process. With that, and then there's someone else who actually had someone who they're chasing. So we were talking earlier about a word that means that they're not in it, and I feel like it's bought in. So the other person's not bought in as much as the other person, and they're chasing that person, so they're focusing on that person and trying to change them.
So wait, is that what you're saying? Like people with anxiety could do? They could start to focus maybe on who they're in a relationship with and forget about themselves?
The wrong things, yeah.
Okay.
So what I did was, so this is what I told them. So this is what I told them, and it actually worked. So they followed up with me, and I was telling my brother this, and it actually changed their lives. So I said, instead of focusing on them and try to change them in the situation, focus on yourself. So now...
So are you saying like if you just have normal relationship issues, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean anything too extreme, I don't really want to get into that. But they're just saying just simply they're just not happy. They feel like they're uneasy at their life right now, and they forgot what makes them happy. Like simply just as that. Like they forgot, like I'm like, well, what makes you happy? Do you like music? Do you like
beer,
this? Even listening to something, having a drink, right? Yeah. Doing something like even if it's like you have kids and you can't get away for like 15, 20 minutes, like I told my brother, if you could mentally just take you to a place that makes you happy. Where's
your mental place?
You don't even want to... Are there kids listening?
Are you back at East Stroudsburg, bottomless?
Exactly.
Oh, I figured that.
You know me all too well, but yeah. So
DJing at the same time.
DJ. Well, they only show your top half. It's easy to do that.
Yeah, there you go. You're good. Until you crowd surf.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
this is old school.
This is when you're 35 going back to East Stroudsburg.
Oh, going to the quad.
Yeah, you're not even going back to when you were actually in college.
I meant like last Thursday.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's no longer cool when you don't wear pants in your 30s. It's not fun anymore.
No.
No, it's not at all. You don't get the same reaction.
Woo!
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh,
but yeah,
my God.
that's basically it. So the person who came back to me said it helped them because by focusing on themselves, they actually made themselves better. So they're working out again. They're doing what they have to do. They actually told the other person, listen, if you're not going to be around because, you know, you're telling me you're going to be at different places, you're not showing up, you feel like I'm like chasing you, right? Mm-hmm. So that maybe that's not like in a marriage situation. But by focusing on themselves and saying, listen, you know what? When you're ready to hang out, we'll hang out. Like, I don't care. I'm doing my own thing. Now they reach back out to you and you're like, yo, what's going on, man? You changed. Like, is everything okay? But yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. But then it changes them indirectly because now they're all about you. So now they're calling you up more. Maybe they want to hang out more. In a relationship, maybe it's because maybe you don't do enough or, you know, maybe the other person feels like you're not loving enough. And you're just like, I feel like I'm getting attacked personally here, right?
Yeah.
But why not just do more? Why not maybe ask the person, what do you feel like I don't care? Why? Well, because you did this. Well, I didn't know that. So maybe I will.
So instead of... Sounds like what you're saying. Instead of becoming stagnant and bringing yourself down, by bettering yourself, you become like more attractive to that person in the long run anyway.
Correct. So you indirectly change the situation in the other person.
Look at that.
Amen.
Holy moly.
Yes, thank you.
Brilliant.
The end. That's all I had.
And this is how we'll wrap this up now. That's good stuff. I mean, Nick, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, so... Now that my brother's Philly Jesus, I'm actually his manager.
You're the
manager. So
just
people contact me and then
we have people that listen in all over. Look at me, big time. But there's people in Sweden. Philly Jesus is just a guy who literally walks around dressed as Jesus in Philadelphia. Basically, that's what Doug's going to be now. But he's going to help with anxiety in particular. So there you go.
But honestly, more for me, especially in my role as a manager and, you know, soon to be a store manager, my more is helping these young associates or soon to be leaders get that way and grow. So my main focus is as far as leadership is growing and developing them and honestly helping them at a young age and being that person that maybe they might not have in their life. And again, it's getting out of the comfort zone, different strategies where, I talk about this. We're in a time where it's less conversation. People are so,
I've actually talked about that on a podcast where people do not interact with each other. Our method of communication is basically texting. It's through social media on Facebook or Twitter, whatever. Like, we don't have those genuine conversations anymore, like back and forth, or very sparingly, you know what I mean? I can remember being a kid, and my grandmom and her friend would come up, and they would just sit at the kitchen table and talk shit on everybody for like hours, you know what I mean? Like, people don't do that no more. But anyway, not to interrupt, go ahead.
Another thing I just want to touch base on is loving yourself. I mean, this is a little, off topic, but and I don't know if my brother touched base on this, but I feel like a lot of people's anger, and especially in relationships, is because they don't love themselves. When I talk about that, it's like, I'm not saying tell your wife or your girlfriend, say, hey, listen, I love you, but I love myself a lot more. You don't want to say that?
But if I didn't love myself, I wouldn't be going out for this beer right now. So
exactly.
You got to let me go.
So this also get correlated with anxiety and things like that, because it's like, being insecure and things like that. You really have to love yourself, because you are not going to be able to love other people. And I feel like that's where a lot of anger problems come from, because they're angry within themselves. So what my brother talked about was changing yourself first. So you literally have to change yourself first and love yourself. And that's also going to help you love other people, be the best person you can be in that relationship or that marriage. You know what I mean? And again, it could be like, you feel like you're getting overweight. So instead of just eating 5 breakfast sandwiches like me and my brother did, but you know what I mean? But like think about it. If you really took care of yourself and you said, you know what, I'm going to go to the gym, and you start seeing results. Hey, I look better. I feel better. Social drinking, I know we used to pound them back in the day, but right now we're social. But it's like, instead of drinking every night this week, I think I could be better mentally focused and clear-minded, maybe if I did it, and then exercising, and that's bettering yourself and then ultimately it's bettering your relationship, better your marriage, better your work ethic. Exactly. I'm not going to go in there and just survive for 8 hours. I feel like shit, I just want to go home. You know what? I'm going to get the most out of this shift. I'm so clear-headed, you know what I mean, that I can go and actually make an impact on my shift. And then it's like, so when you ask for a raise and they're like, what did you do? Now you know what you're doing, because you have goals set in mind. So it's like, I feel like loving yourself is also a key component to growing and developing yourself.
Yeah, very well said. It seems like it's all one big, or all these little pieces that come together to help with anxiety, whether it's loving yourself and staying focused and, having goals and what you want to accomplish. It all plays in and helps you, I guess, be the best version of yourself that you can be.
Yes. And also, too, real quick, it's fulfillment. I know Tony Robbins talks about fulfillment also. It's like, you could have a CEO making, whatever they're, whatever they go, 700, I don't know what they're.
Millions.
Money
well, it all depends, but yeah, they could make tons of money.
But are they happy? There's certain people that you think successful and stuff like that.
Yeah, money doesn't necessarily make you happy.
Yeah, so it's like, what fulfills you? You could be doing what you think are the right things, but again, you're still, not happy with yourself. You're still not happy with other people. So fulfillment could be anything. So it's like what me and my brother are doing right now, and we want to keep doing. It fulfills us. We're successful, sure. My brother's a branch manager. Like I said, I'm going to be a store manager soon. It's like we're successful.
You both have an ice cream truck,
and that's the thing. A variety of flavors. But you know what I mean? But it's like, this is fulfillment. This is what, allows us to grow and develop. So it's like people do certain things maybe because they need money. Like we work ultimately because we need money to pay our bills, support our family. But it's like, what fulfills you in life? What is it? And it's like, sometimes you help people, and people that want to be helped will be helped, and people don't. But it's like, a question, and ask people, it's like, what fulfills you? You don't have to tell me now, but what really is passionate? Like, being a store manager, is that passion? Or is it like helping people?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what really fulfills you? I feel like people have to ask themselves that question.
Yeah, because a lot of times it might not be in your job, and you always want to have a job where you feel fulfilled, but for some people, not everyone can be a professional athlete or what have you, so they find their passion other ways, and like you said, a lot of times now as you get older, it's trying to help people or do something. So with that being said, what would you guys, and this has been good because this is two everyday guys' perspective on having anxiety and how to deal with it, so people who maybe don't realize they have anxiety or are nervous and want to look into that, how would you tell these people what would you say for them to do? Would you say should look into professional help? Would you say that here are some steps to deal with it? What would your advice be to them?
I honestly think that because I did different things throughout my life to get over it, but I feel like people have to realize they can do it themselves. So it's basically just taking a step back, taking a breath, staying calm, stay within yourself, and literally just redirecting your focus.
So kind of taking inventory of your life or what's bothering you, and then trying to focus that negative into positive circumstances.
Correct, right, because someone could sit here, if we had callers or someone called in and were to say, can you help me? Okay, so what anxiety do you have? And they could be like, oh, well, someone's bothering me or I feel like I'm not getting love enough from a spouse or something like that. Okay, so what are you actually focusing on? Right? So are you focusing on maybe yourself and getting yourself through the situation and maybe different keys to maybe help them or help yourself? Or are you just focusing on them in particular and thinking of how they're making you, uneasy or feel like you're not good enough or maybe the situation's taking over? And I think we talked about it before, like having like an external world and internal world. So you can have, like my brother said, an amazing external world, but you really have to focus on your internal world.
Right.
So if you're having anxiety, you really have to step back and say, okay, so what I'm basically doing is I'm focusing on the situation, I'm focusing on the people and how they're affecting me in a negative way, instead of taking a step back and saying, okay, this is the situation. Now how can I overcome that with myself in a positive way? And how am I going to get through that adversity? So you're just looking at it from a completely different angle.
Right, because you can't control what they're going to do, but you can control what you can do.
And sorry, and real quick, just to kind of add to that, and I know we briefly talked before we actually went on air, but it's like, when you talk about, male and female, I don't know what the percentage is, but I'm pretty sure it's like probably in the 80s or I don't want to say 90s, but I'll say 80% of men don't want to talk about it because they feel less superior. They're like, I'm a man, I can't feel like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in turn, they're actually making their marriage worse, making relationships worse. They're not helping the situation because maybe that's something within themselves where it's like if they kind of accept the fact that they have anxiety or feel that, I want to say even insecurity. Yeah. If they kind of
hit
like
that head on. Or like it's emasculating, you
know
what I mean? We're not going to go down the road of like the mental health conversation, but it all kind of comes into play of just being able to say, yeah, this is bothering me or I got to do something about it.
And honestly, to also that percentage, 80% of men don't want to talk about it. I guarantee 80% of men have it. Different degrees.
Yeah.
You talk about mental health. There are some people and also I just want to let, people know that are listening, as far as me and my brother, if obviously there's people that need medicine, like, you know what I mean?
Right,
there are some
right.
people
there's levels to this.
There is levels, and we're not professionals. We're not going to say don't. If you can cope with it, again, it's like what we're trying to say is if we can help you do more of the therapeutic, it's all in your chemical makeup, obviously mental health.
Right, because maybe you should start. Well, like you said, I'm not a professional, but I think anything you could do to help yourself to start, and even if that means eventually getting help or just talking to people, is a step in the right direction.
Right, and then that comes to kind of answer your question. So it's like just talking about it, letting people know, and then you will feel better about yourself, and that way you can go to the right direction. Whether it's seeing someone or doing therapeutic, or maybe if you do have to take something or take a pill just to kind of take the edge off. But that's what it is. It's just like the first step is kind of hitting it head on. Embrace them uncomfortable situations, and maybe that uncomfortable situation is letting someone know that you need help. And I think that's the first step.
That is the first step. Well, this has been fabulous, gentlemen. I've enjoyed laughing with you and you guys giving, like I said, your perspective on having anxiety, because for everybody listening, these two guys, I would have never in a million years think that either one of them had anxiety. But, that could be the people that you're living with, family, friends. You might never think it, but inside, you never know. Do you guys want to give your social media or anything? Are you doing anything with that? Are you good, or are you sharing anything or tips or?
So right now, my brother Doug, he's really the one that's been driving this, especially for the past couple of months. We don't have anything yet, but obviously we talked. We said this is going to be the first step, so we kind of want to just get our names.
You got your first step done. Congrats.
Yo, first step. You always need a first step everything, and Booty, you're included. We will give you 5%. You have 5% in the company.
You heard that.
But yeah,
5%
so this
shareholder.
There you go. So this is the first step. We will be going on, probably getting a page social media, and we will, go growing with this. But again, same with you, Boot. I know we got families, you got kids, so it's something that we kind of just have to make time. But we really just wanted to get our point across, just let people know that there is help out there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Doug, do you have anything?
Awesome.
Yeah. So like I said too, like in terms of reaching out, we're throwing some ideas around, conference calls, whatever groups. It's going to be tough, like getting there, like an actual like room or something like that. But I don't know how the whole podcast thing works. I don't know if there's like likes. I don't know how you do that.
I can help you out with that.
Right, exactly. So if we can get maybe a group of people together, or just even if they want to listen to us and they want to invite us back, I don't know.
I love it.
People
So
invite us back, let us know,
people
come
can
back
call in and you can help
and then
them
we
out.
get right, and even tell you maybe different topics that they want us to cover for this, just tailored based on like their needs or whatever they need. We could do that.
Well, there you go. Well, thanks, guys, for coming in. And what I'll do, too, is anything you guys are doing, I'll post on my social media, which is Storytime with Boots for Facebook and Instagram, and Storytime W Boots with Twitter. Be sure to go out there and check out what these two twins look like, these beefcakes. And maybe we'll have you back on again. Sound good?
Thanks a lot, Boot. No problem, buddy.
Thank you, Boots.
All right. That's it, folks. So check out the social media, and I will see you again soon.